Now, welcome to the latest edition of First Day Kopites podcast, still formerly known as the LFC Delaware podcast, not a name we use anymore. This week, we're going to do a brief review. We have no guest. We're just going to talk about how the Reds have done so far in the last 3 games, including the League Cup tie. I'm not quite sure whether that's actually the Carabao Cup or whether it's the EFL Cup, because I've heard people use different names. Anyway, we played Lincoln last week. We're playing Arsenal tomorrow. We'll touch on that. Some announcements first, just to get the ball rolling. Catherine Rooney's on Sunday will be showing the game. Tim.
Oh, yes. Catherine Rooney's will be showing the game. Was it a 2:15 kickoff?
2:15, yeah.
Yeah, 2:15. It'll be NBC Sports, so there'll be no lag going on. Delaware Ave will be shut down, picnic tables in the street, wear a mask when you're standing up. If you're sitting at a thing, then you're okay. It's been pretty good crowd so far at Rooney's on the weekends. Kind of our own designated little area. So, yeah, come on out. Watch us take on the Villa. 2 undefeated teams clashing.
The villains.
Should be a good one. Probably also worth saying that if you do intend to come out, then letting us know that you're going to do that will also help us plan how much space we get.
Okay, hang on, Pippa.
You're listening before, we're recording this, on September 30th. So if you're watching this before the game on October 4th, I think, let us know. And then we have a message about subscribing. Sean.
Sure. Yeah. Subscribe to the First Day Kopites podcast, either on the YouTube channel or on your podcast app, wherever you get podcasts. I don't think we have it up on iTunes yet, but you can download other podcast apps and formats. I use Pocket Cast, and there are others, but you can also get it on SoundCloud. So on any of those platforms.
Spotify works.
Spotify.
Don't have to look at our faces. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah. It's a lot less distracting.
And the way we decorate the place, just...
Except for that guy with the blue room.
Yeah, I got to improve that.
Inappropriate.
So, and although we're not an official OLSC Delaware podcast, do want to remind you, if you're in and around the First State and you are a Liverpool fan, the group to join is OLSC Delaware. You can send us an email at lfcdelaware@gmail.com if you want to find out how to do that. So there we are. Announcements done for this week. So it's been quite a couple of days. Probably last 10 days. We recorded the last episode when we signed Thiago Alcantara. We've seen him play once, maybe a little while before we see him play again. But the day after the podcast, we signed Diogo Jota, who I think Pep Lijnders described as a pressing monster. So anyone wants to pick that up. We also played Chelsea over the weekend, and then we played Lincoln, as I mentioned, last Thursday, with essentially a second string lineup, which was good enough to beat Lincoln 7-2. So we're gonna go around and take any of those. We'll pick up on Arsenal later, but any of those topics, where are you going to go, Sean? I'll start with you.
I think it's exciting. The signing of Jota is very exciting. Glad we got that 5th option attacker, I guess, is where he'd probably fall, probably behind Minamino. From a lot of the information that you can gather statistically and otherwise, he seems very similar to Mane, so could potentially slot in there from Mane. Mane can play basically across all 3 spots in the front 3. So he seems like a great fit, and I'm kind of to the point now where with Edwards and Klopp and company, when they are willing to spend that kind of money on somebody, I'm pretty confident that they're going to fit in pretty well. And after hearing Pep Lijnders talk about him in the pre-match presser for Lincoln last week, was even more confident. It sounds like he's going to be a great fit. So excited to see more of him. We saw a little bit of him against Arsenal, and then we'll talk about in a minute. But he's an exciting signing. He's young too, so we'll have him for a while, hopefully.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the things that if you're listening, you may have seen is The Athletic did a piece on his ability to get players sent off, which I don't know if that's a recorded stat, but certainly Michael Cox did the piece, and he's all about kind of tactics. But he pointed out 5 situations, and it should have been 6, where players were sent off as a result of essentially Jota's pressing or his speed. Look forward to playing against 10 men more frequently, I think is probably the story of that one.
His speed really caught me off guard against Arsenal. I've watched a fair deal of Wolves games over the last season, and kind of like knew the name, but had never really watched him much. But not so much against Lincoln. Like it seemed like he was just getting his feet wet in that game. But yesterday when he came on, there's a couple of times when he was just like he may as well have been Mane, which I know is, you know, a high level to attain to every week for a 23-year-old. But his pace is great, and like his positioning was amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited about him now.
Yeah, just being in the right spot, and just the moment he came on, he was just like, I think he had a really good chance within 30 seconds of being on. Fantastic.
He could have easily scored 3 in that game.
Yeah,
he had 3 really good chances, and he like
Mo didn't get in the way.
What's that?
That guy Mo.
Another way he can emulate Mane is, you know, having his chances stolen by Mo Salah. So
I was listening to Neil Atkinson on the review show today, and he did say he didn't think Mo would have tried to push Mane out of the way in the same way. So we'll see.
We got to talk about this later, but not in that game.
To Mo's defense, by the way, the chance that he did have at the very beginning was an incredible pass from Salah. Really picked him out in a crowded defense. How do we end up in Arsenal?
Even his goal was, you know, set up indirectly by Mo. It was was the ball from the corner. So
anyway, and as Charlie said, he just, the thing that stuck out to me is he just seems to be popping up in the right place at the right time a lot, which was really good to see.
Yeah,
like every couple of minutes, the ball just seemed to find him in a great spot in the box. You know.
Well, apparently Klopp was watching him for 2 or 3 years. Maybe he was watching us for 2 or 3 years too, huh?
It wouldn't be a surprise. One of the things I did read was that Thiago knew like much more than they thought he would about Liverpool's system, which suggested that he'd been watching YouTube videos all summer of Liverpool's games. So to the games themselves, then we'll kind of go back around. I think Jota is worth pausing on, but Chelsea game, Lincoln game. What are your thoughts? I'll start with Charlie.
Oh well, I mean the Chelsea game was really, you know, a little bit of a worry, I guess, after coming out of that Leeds game, conceding a few against Leeds. Look, Leeds subsequently had another 7-goal game. So, you know, maybe it wasn't so much us, maybe it's their style of play. But then going in, you know, against Chelsea, and they're probably going to need some time to gel, but they've certainly spent a lot. But, you know, that ball by Henderson to get their guy sent off was just, you know, fantastic. And then, you know, it was a bit of a procession after that. A long time ago, wasn't it? I don't know, just nice to knock off. You know, like they say, it's probably one of the 2 or 3 or 4 hardest fixtures on the list is Chelsea away. Now, whether Chelsea away without fans is quite as daunting as Chelsea away with fans, we probably got a little bit lucky with the draw there. Let's get as many of these away games knocked out of the way as we can while there are no fans. But yeah, just good to get those 3 points, and it's always good to see Fat Frank unhappy.
I was really surprised how defensive they were, given they've spent, I don't know, like $1 gazillion on attacking players. They played like essentially 2 banks of 4.
Yeah, and I think with fans they would not have gotten away with that, playing that way at home. I've heard people say that. I'm not sure he would have played us that way. But,
it's an interesting thought. Maybe maybe it's not such an advantage. Maybe they have a little more freedom. So that's interesting. Yeah.
Good thoughts. So what do you think? Maybe we're not going to reflect at all on the Lincoln game, although I do want to give Taki a name check because I thought he had a magnificent game in that one. But your thoughts about Chelsea or even Lincoln, Tim?
Yeah, I thought Lincoln was much more fun to watch than I anticipated it being. I think because our squad is a bit deeper this year, so it's not just like this isn't a league game, so we're just going to see a bunch of under 21s playing. So it was good to see Samikas play, get in some good runs. Obviously, Nico took some crap from that game, and I think that's terrible because he is literally a kid and also literally playing on the best team in the world right now. So it can be forgiven if he makes some lapses, even if it is against Lincoln, especially if it's against Lincoln. Maybe not forgive him if it's against Man City. I loved Taki in that game, looked amazing. At one point we were watching it and I was like, if I buy a shirt this year, I might have to get him on the back of it because he's an electric player to watch, which makes sense coming from a system like Salzburg plays and a system like we play. Kind of a decent lateral move. So I was happy to see him, and I was happy to see my man Shaq get on the board like real early in the game too. Yeah. Jordan Shaqiri scoring goals, I'll never get tired of watching, especially when it's like a long curling free kick from outside. Just perfect.
He did not look like someone who has not played a game for months, did he?
Yeah.
It was kind of strange.
Yeah,
Like
and apparently he played a deeper role than he's used to playing, which was interesting.
Okay.
It was kind of hard to keep track of him on the pitch, but in reading some of the post-match evaluation, apparently he wasn't playing like a wide wing. They were playing more of our standard 4-3-3, and he was playing like that Henderson, Wijnaldum kind of position on the field. So that'll be interesting to see going forward if they keep him in that position or if they do switch out to like a 4-2-3-1 or something like that. But I thought he looked great in that game.
Yeah.
Not too old.
Cujo.
Yeah,
He's not
Cujo.
called Cujo.
Wow.
He had to stop this nonsense. It's Curtis
That's-
Jones. Nobody
Hey,
calls
come
him
on.
Cujo.
That's the great nickname.
It is.
It is if
Still
you're a
then.
Canadian hockey player, but I'm not sure it is if you're a Scouser.
The second
Yeah.
coming.
Definitely not afraid to shoot, that's for sure. We can
Yeah,
say that
right?
about him.
Yeah.
A little more accuracy would be better, but worked out at least twice for him against Lincoln. So
And I read something today that of all our midfielders, he's the most likely to shoot. I'm like, wow, maybe Ox is up there, but yeah. But I tell you, further to the depth, it's got to be great in practice because your second team is not only of such high quality, but playing with confidence and playing the style, the Liverpool way. I mean, this has really got to be a self-perpetuating thing where when you have two really solid squads are improving each other every single day. So that's great.
Yeah. Because the only question is, are all of them still there at the end of the transfer window?
Yes.
I
I
think
just saw that Chelsea signed a loan for Ross Barkley today. So I wonder if that, because we had a few guys rumored, not Chelsea, to Aston Villa.
Yeah.
And we had a few guys. I think Harry Wilson was rumored to be going to Villa at some point, and Origi maybe. So I wonder if that maybe cut some of those deals short.
Yeah.
Barkley doesn't replace either of those guys, does he? That doesn't replace the need for either of those guys.
Maybe Harry. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
Good.
I've also heard that if Shaqiri goes anywhere from Liverpool, Harry Wilson will stay with us
Oh wow. Huh.
I saw that too.
without question.
Yeah.
I could maybe see Grujic going still, but I mean I don't know. It'd be a couple days, but I don't think anybody else is leaving.
We got rid of Karius.
Yeah.
We loaned Carriers.
I think that move could be good for him.
Poor
Yeah.
guy.
I kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, yeah, he's going home. He's playing for a team that can win some games. Union Berlin. I heard Grujic actually connected with Dortmund, so that would be interesting.
I had heard Mönchengladbach, but I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So in that same piece that they said if Shaqiri goes, Wilson won't. They were saying that Klopp was quite impressed with Grujic and wouldn't be opposed to him staying with the squad.
Yeah, I wouldn't be either. I mean, just for depth. But.
We'll see. Yeah.
He can play center back too. He's really tall.
He is tall.
Yeah, he is. Well, he can play center back, or if Fabinho is technically our fourth center back, then we may need a backup defensive midfielder. So
yeah, and playing him with Fabinho or somebody like that with Fabinho is not a bad idea either, because he's on the pitch with them. I would think that might be helpful if you don't have the experience there.
Yeah, I thought he looked good during Lincoln as well.
Yeah,
he has a presence on the pitch, so I'll say that for him, if nothing else.
Yep. We hit all my talking points. This is great. I wrote Grujic, Shaq, Taki, and Curtis. Great, fantastic. Just going back on the Chelsea game, actually, there were some things that we said on the podcast that we did about when Daz was on. He talked about like being really concerned about Alisson. I think the one thing that the last couple of games have shown us is like he's still pretty good.
Yeah, he's going to be okay.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
He just had to get used to having so much less hair.
Right.
You should have talked to Timmy.
Mm-hmm. And the other couple of things I thought were interesting was because Daz also said, be concerned about like a replacement for the front three, and like there we were within 24 hours. Maybe we should get him back on and say some ridiculous things, and they'll get addressed like 3 days later.
Come on and talk about center backs.
Yeah.
There's only so much South African I can have in my diet. Love you, Daz.
Okay. On that note, sorry, we're going to get into the conversation you had with that South African gentleman the other evening at the bar, but so we are going to move on. Arsenal then. What a performance. How incredible. I think I shared off camera that the couple of folks in the Anfield Wrap said that might be one of Liverpool's best performances under Jurgen Klopp, which is saying quite something, but I don't think it's kind of overblown in terms of how much control they had of the match and the movement, the pressing.
Sure. And certainly like how Arsenal has played us recently.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think of all of the early competitions, especially after the Community Shield and after our playing them last year. I think they're on Sean's end of the season table competition. I think I had them at number 4 because I think the way Arteta's got them playing is going to be tough for some teams to deal with. So I think the way that we handled them like pretty handily. After watching a replay of the game and watching it up close, I think that's even more impressive than, beating a Chelsea or something like that.
I 100% agree. Sean, we talked about what were some of the reasons why it was different from those last 2 games. What are your thoughts?
I'm no tactical expert, but I thought we were kind of crowding the right.
Why are you here? What do you mean?
To me, it looked like we were, so for previous games, it seemed like Arsenal was trying to cut off our play creation from the right side, basically trying to press Trent and cut off passes to Salah. And looked to me like we kind of shifted a little bit further over to that side when we had the ball, particularly Fabinho. And that seemed to help a little bit. We also pressed a lot higher. I think that was pretty obvious to everybody. Naby was pressing really high. I think he was pressing. They were focusing a lot on Jota. So Jota in the previous games, I guess, had been coming pretty deep to get the ball. And so Klopp's adjustments, I think it worked pretty well. I just thought we were phenomenal. We looked just like our old selves again to me, back, going back to holiday period or January, February last year, which was great to see. Just everybody was fantastic. Like you said, Alisson, there wasn't a player that played for us that didn't have a great game. So, it was just a great performance all around. And, they did get the one goal that we basically gave to them. Robbo, he never does that. He made a mistake and he went right back and scored a goal.
You got an assist for that, right?
Yeah. But so other than that Robbo mistake, that he scored on, they had 3 shots. They had 4 shots total. They had 3 that they actually created, and we had 21. So, I don't think that 3-1 really even represents how dominant we were in the game. So yeah, it was
Now,
just fantastic.
were any of those shots from plays that would have been called offside? Because a lot of the times where they got behind us, it was a delayed offside flag. And so, and a lot of the stuff, the quote unquote sloppiness that we displayed was from situations where it was an offside play. The linesman held their flag until later on, and so at that point, it's not that clear that, hey, this wasn't even a play. This wasn't pressure.
Yeah.
This was an offside trap, and we got him.
So I'm not sure. There were two Lacazette shots at 58 minutes, and then there was one at 62 minutes. One of them might have been a delayed offside. I'm not sure. But they're showing up in this shot chart that I'm looking at as a recorded shot.
They're the ones that were basically like one-on-one with Ali, and he was out near the top of the box and just shut it down.
Yeah, I think. Well, there was the one that was pretty clear one-on-one that Ali stopped. That was really their one clear chance to me that they created. The rest of the game was just total domination. I mean, they couldn't do much of anything.
So I do have a bit of insight about what got recorded as XG. Actually, because they seem to have recorded all of those chances, the ones that people went back and looked at and were offside, as part of the XG. So
what was the tally?
Arsenal's XG was like 1.2 or something like that.
Yeah. So I mean, they vary depending on where you look. But 1.18, but the chance that they scored on, which again we gave them, was 0.51.
Yeah.
So they didn't have very much outside of that, and we had 2.74.
Yeah.
So I mean, it was, which, and XG is not like a perfect, kind of a perfect stat either. But if you just look at the shot chart, I mean, there's just 21 shots, and most of them are either just outside the box or in the box.
Yeah.
It's just total domination. So.
And we've talked before, I think, about the Liverpool outperforming XG, which has been consistent across the last two seasons. Mm-hmm. And what it seems to indicate is that the XG value assigned to really good Liverpool chances is lower than it should be.
Well, it's the average chance that someone would have from scoring there. We don't have any average players. And on the back end, we're outperforming the XG on the back end because we have superior defense as well. So, I mean, and it's understandable.
This season, not so much, actually. I think this season, because of the Leeds anomaly, our expected goals against is much lower than the actual goals against.
What, 3 games? That's too small.
It's not a good sample size.
To base any kind of judgment.
It's not a good sample size, but where it stands right now, because they collect it with each game, the XGA is lower, which is the opposite of where it's been the last 2 years.
Okay, tell me about last 12 months, and we can talk.
Yeah, the Leeds goals were. I mean, they scored a couple fantastic goals, especially that last one.
3 goals, right?
Not many times those are going in, I don't think. But yeah, I mean, Arteta, I think, talked about it after the game, where I think he mentioned that, if you get past the press and all that, then you got Van Dijk and Alisson to deal with. Yeah. And that's, that's not easy, obviously. Maybe the best center back and goalie in the world. So
yeah. Apparently Arsenal Fan TV seemed to think that the referee had a terrible game and that was the whole reason they lost. I'm like, we all watched at least once, right? Any idea where that came from?
Well, the first thing was the Sadio Mane forearm, which got the guy's shoulder and then up onto, but tell you, Sadio came out all guns blazing. He wiped out the other wing back or whatever you call him
Bellerin,
for that. And then got that guy. He's roughing everyone up. He must have had a tiff with the old lady before he came to the game. He's like, "Get out of my way!" But the other thing was they think that Jota handled the ball because there's a still frame which clearly shows that the ball touched Jota's elbows. So, sure, guys.
And the best part about that is that the still frame was a still from the video. So it's blurry to begin with, but it's taken from behind him, whereas the official was standing in front of him, looking directly at him. So he would probably have a better perspective than a still framed photo.
And you'd think maybe one of the opposition players would have put their hand up for a handball, and no one reacted.
Well, he also had his arms directly down his side, they weren't
I'll
out,
take this,
which
yep.
is another thing that they look for. So,
Well, in that case, I don't think it matters if it's an attacking play.
okay.
That's
It
true.
doesn't
Yeah,
matter
like you
whether
can
it's
still.
a natural or unnatural. But I think it was a legitimate goal, and there wasn't any issue until people are looking for Arsenal. People are looking for something to complain about.
But I had heard Martin Tyler was playing up the Mane.
Imagine that.
Shock horror.
He almost created that narrative. I'm not sure that would have been played up as much as it was, but
Yeah, lots of social media stuff where they're like, "That's a straight red all day for me." Like,
Yeah.
yes, if you look at the one photo that looks like it's Mane giving like a WWE forearm to somebody's face while he's going in the box, then that would be a straight red. Correct.
yeah.
You do a lot
Notorious
of
dirty
kills.
player.
Okay. So apparently it pays to follow Twitter, not watch 88 minutes of the match, and then you come up with a version of events that suits you. That's what I'm hearing. Right.
It suits them.
Yeah.
I will say, I'll give a shout to the few Arsenal fans that showed up to Catherine Rooney's. They're much better than anyone I've seen on Twitter. So cheers to those guys who are good sports. You know, thought it was a good match. I don't know.
Yeah. Indeed. Any more about Arsenal?
It's plenty.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, where do I begin? Well, how about? Did you see Arteta's interview? Now there was post-match. There was all kinds of stuff, and a lot of it was really enjoyable to watch as a Liverpool fan. But the thing that really struck me was Arteta's interview, and he just says they dominate every aspect of the game. I mean, he was just effusive. It's just like, what can you do? You know, we're trying to press, and further what Sean said, we try to press them in their own area, and Van Dijk hits a 60-yard pass to Trent or to Mo or whoever.
Yeah.
Whoever. I mean, it's like it's just too good. How can you compete with it? But yeah, I mean, look, it was just a fantastic game, and the first half was just so strong and so dominant. One of the biggest things that I really got out of it was Joe Gomez just looked rock solid, back to what we expected, and I was never really worried about. But oh man, the chatter for the last 6 months about how Joe Gomez really is not even a first squad, defender. Like, give me a break. He is the best English defender. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the best.
Yeah.
And just to see him display his confidence and to really just have a solid game. Fabinho looked great. It was really, really impressive. And then Dingo J came on and just really took the mantle straight away. And
that's Diago.
Dingo.
Yeah.
Again,
The ginger.
Not working.
I think he's actually Australian. They say he's Portuguese. I think he might actually be Australian.
one thing that was not talked about a lot or has not been talked about a lot was how good Firmino was. And I feel like his form kind of dipped a little bit since maybe like last Christmas. I thought he was fantastic against Arsenal. He looked like his old self again to me. He was all over the place. He was pressing everyone. I think he had a role creating a couple of chances. Even the shot he had wasn't far off. He could have scored that one.
It got deflected for a corner. Is that the one?
Yeah.
Oh,
I agree. Gomez looked like his old self again. I mean, I wasn't ever really worried about him. I was just wondering what was going on because to me, he didn't look like the same player after the lockdown, and he did against Arsenal. So it's just any of the worries that I had about the team were pretty much put to bed at that game.
And Mane was just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
Absolute monster. He was just, honestly, he is the best player in the game at the moment. He really is. He's the best player on the planet right now.
I think the guy on the other side of the field might have an argument about that, but that's.
I know you would.
In that game in particular, he was. I agree. He was unbelievable. It was between him and Fabinho for me for man of the match.
I agree.
Fabinho was amazing. I mean, again, second game in a row. I mean, I looked at some stat where he, I think he broke up play like 11 times. He had 3 tackles, which was second only to holding for Arsenal. And I thought at the first 20 minutes of the match, he and Mane both kind of really set the tone. He broke up anything that they did in the midfield, and Mane was just all over the place, Yeah, it was just a lot of fun to watch. So.
Well, I think it's a great example, actually, of what differentiates them. And my recommended reading, as you know, was Our Identity is Intensity. I think the very skillful players, obviously, but the intensity they had in that game so Arsenal must have come into the game thinking, hey, we did pretty well in the Community Shield, and then they kind of upped the level of the way they played just so much from the Community Shield, which I'm sure they were considering as like a warm-up friendly, and this is now the real thing. So
the other thing to say real quick is that if you remember back to the pre-match, not me really, but some people had concerns because we were missing both Thiago and Hendo.
Yeah.
It seems pretty foolish at this point.
Yeah,
but that was the pre-match. Anyway.
So I know I didn't get I know this turned you off, or I don't know if you saw this, Tim, but on our the WhatsApp group, there's only 29 people on it, so it's not it's like a pretty small group, and like someone was like cursing about the fact Thiago was out, and it's like the team that got 99 points, They're not bad.
Yeah, I wasn't concerned really. I mean, we had Fab, Genie, and Navi. It was good enough for me, especially after seeing Curtis Jones play against Lincoln. If he has to come in, fine.
Hey, look, our depth is great now, but if there's one area that we're not going to be in too much trouble if we have a couple guys go down, midfield is it.
Yeah, that still won't stop some people.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna.
Thiago won a triple, just so you know.
Uh-huh. He did?
Well, we missed out on the Community Shield to start us off.
So we're not getting into Thiago. We're not doing that today. Looking ahead, tomorrow, Champions League draw. I guess Sunday we take on Villa. Well, tomorrow's Arsenal, right? Tomorrow's Arsenal in the, I'm not sure if it's the Carabao Cup or the EFL Cup, because I heard the announcer describe it as the EFL Cup yesterday. Anyway, and then Villa.
I saw a toilet that had Carabao Cup all over it. So
yeah, I feel like that might have been photoshopped, but just I don't know.
Oh, that was legit. That was from Eric Dyer's Instagram feed.
He put the Carabao Cup sign on. Okay, all right. Well,
may not be sanctioned, but he did it for sure.
More importantly, we have 2 games in the next 4 days. We'll see the Champions League draw tomorrow. Where do you want to go next, Sean? Looking ahead.
I guess we've kind of covered Arsenal. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how we rotate, I guess, for tomorrow. Villa, yeah, they're off to a good start, but I don't have any worry about us, with them really.
Not even with the signing of Barkley?
No.
I said that with a straight face, just to say it.
I'm probably
on, bring it on.
I mean, interested to watch, obviously interested to watch both matches, but I am really interested in the Champions League draw just to see, especially who we get out of pot 2. I think there are 5 options. So it's Shakhtar and Ajax, Atletico, and I'm going to forget a few of them. We can't play any domestic teams. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see who our group ends up being out of that tomorrow.
Napoli in there?
Might be
No.
Not.
No.
Yeah. I saw
Barcelona. But I think Barcelona are though, right?
Yeah, I think Barcelona. So it's Barcelona, Atletico Madrid, Ajax
team.
And
if they're broken, don't they automatically go into pot 4?
It's a slow slide. They've gone from pot 1. No.
So I'm actually hoping that we get like Ajax or Shakhtar just to make it easier for us to get to the next round and win the group.
I don't think
it hard. So.
Look, at this point, you can't look at any competition and say, I'm afraid of them. I want something close. I don't want too much travel. With this schedule, it can be the toughest team in Europe as long as it's just across the channel. And then that's fine. That's
Ajax.
Fine.
Ajax it is.
I love Ajax. I got a soft spot for Ajax.
Yeah, Shakhtar's a bit too far away. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Good stuff. So so obviously we'll play a change team tomorrow. I did read that Shimikas is not available.
Not available, nor is Henderson. Ox is a bit away, apparently. He's a little bit away. Matip, no.
Yep.
Obviously, Thiago, no. Other than that, I think we got everyone. But, hey, look, kind of maybe can see what you can see what we might do. I'm interested to see what Arsenal does.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to have fast guys up front, that's for sure, because all the people they have are fast.
Is that right?
So, yeah.
I think we maybe see Milner at left back.
Mm-hmm.
Not if they're fast, no.
I don't know who plays. You could play Nico there again, but I don't know how they'd feel about that. It'll be interesting to see if Tsimikas is not available.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to do anything. I think the biggest thing will be he's not going to do anything that puts the team against Villa at risk. So, which takes us to Villa then. I wonder what Barkley's done. Like, he must think that the gods are against him. Like, he had to play against us like 2 weeks ago, and now he's got to play against us again. It's like, it seems unfair.
If anyone should become a villain, I mean, he's been practicing his whole career to be a villain against Liverpool. Can't stand the guy.
He's older than I thought. 26 years old. He's not the incoming player I'm more, I wouldn't say worried about, but thoughts about is in net they have Emi Martinez, who filled in for Bernd Leno last year when he went down for Arsenal, who I think is a really top-notch keeper. So I think that may be the toughest test, not even mentioning that guy who doesn't know how to pull his socks up with the 90s hair. But I think Emi Martinez is definitely the guy that we should be looking out for. Might make it a little bit more difficult to score our 5 goals, but we'll see.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I think if we're able to I think it was always with teams like this, if we score first and then score second, I don't think there's much to worry about. But I think there's always a chance they're going to kind of get a goal from somewhere, because they've got quite a few people who can take long shots. So
yeah.
But did anyone see them play against Fulham last weekend? It was the game.
Now that was the early day on Monday, or early game on Monday, yeah?
Yeah, it was, game 4 Arsenal. Yeah.
I haven't watched it back yet.
I saw a little bit of it, and frankly, Fulham's defense was as awful as it had been in the Championship playoff. Which they've got to fix that surely if they come into the Premier League. So there was not. It didn't seem to me that result was more about Fulham being unable to defend than it was about Villa being particularly good or better than last season. But so we'll obviously see. But
Villa did dominate the game against Sheffield, even though they won 1-0. I don't think they had a ton of chances. They dominated possession, and they had more chances and shots. Sheffield hasn't been great so far either, though, which is
hasn't been great. They haven't scored a goal.
Yeah.
So that's underestimating. Understating it.
No, but I mean, Fulham are awful. That's the point I was getting.
Right. So
I think those two have picked them to finish last in the league to start the season. So
seems a reasonable bet at this point.
Yeah.
But in the game against Sheffield United, they were down to 10 men. Sheffield United after about 25 minutes. I might have got the timing wrong.
Oh, you're right. No, you're right about that. Yeah, you're right.
So that would have explained. Yeah. So
speaking of which, they've adjusted the interpretation of this ridiculous handball rule effective this weekend.
All that
for the league. So I'm amazed that they did anything about it.
Theoretical at this point, but
hey, look. So far, I mean, other than that rule, and that's not their call, I have been impressed with the referees. I've been impressed with the new implementation of the pitch side monitor. The calls on these penalties, which, I mean, excluding the handball nonsense, they're calling penalties that are penalties, and they haven't been. They talk about last year United only got a couple more than they should have. It's just that everyone else got so many fewer than they should have, and now all of a sudden it's a penalty, and they're not afraid to call it. And and it's not someone else overruling they're waving it away. It's them having a second look and saying, you know what, I think that's legitimate. So look, I'm not getting carried away, but let's see how it goes, because so far they've given me a little bit of a lot more confidence than I've had in the refereeing for many years.
So a few things before we get carried away. I believe Martin Atkinson is our referee against Villa.
At least it wasn't him against Chelsea.
You can groan now. The other thing I'd say is even Manchester United, it would appear, are the only people who've had a penalty overturned in about 6 months. Like that one against Brighton, if you saw it on Saturday. It's like, so even if they're getting, that things are reverting to normal around penalties. Sorry about this. Even if they're reverting to normal around penalties, then Manchester United still seem to be getting a little bit extra. So.
Yeah, well.
Final round.
Again, you're taking a 3-game sample size, so let's expand on that.
Last season was not was the whole sample was skewed in their favor. However you look at it. Okay.
No doubt.
So, all right, let's close with the usual one thing you saw about Liverpool this week that particularly caught your eye. Sean, I'm going to start with you.
I posted on our LFC Delaware Facebook page about this. I was really interested in the pregame press conference by Pep Linders before the Lincoln match. There's just a lot of interesting comments there, and it made me wonder if he was supposed to be as open as he was, and it made me think about how Klopp is probably very good at managing the media and not sharing too much. But it was very interesting just to kind of hear him speak like that, because I haven't really heard him expand on anything like that for 15 minutes. So, it was just it's very interesting. A lot of interesting comments there. He talked about, how, Fabinho is a great team player and it's great for him to move back to center back. They can't wait to get Gomez and Matip back. He went on and on about Jota and how excited he was about Jota. And then he talked a little bit about, clubs like Lincoln who are struggling financially right now, and how it's important for the league and the bigger clubs to try to help support those clubs as much as they can. So it was just really interesting to see him, kind of talk and get to see what he's about a little bit more. So
he did the press conference today. I didn't see it, but so there's probably more gems to unearth in today's press conference.
He was very effusive on the subject of Minamino. I noticed that.
Okay, right.
And Jota.
So what did you notice this week then, Charlie?
Just the Arsenal game, really, the way the players, Klopp, with all his training and all his knowledge, dissemination, what he wants out of his players is for them on the field to figure it out and to find a way and to see that the other team is doing this. So what we need to do is we need to adjust this slightly and do this. And the fact that it's almost like the Liverpool players, certainly first team, but in general, on the field are probably as good or better than solving these conundrums than 90% of managers in the Premier League. And it's so amazing that these guys are able to think on their feet, and that Klopp has given them that, freedom and the responsibility, I guess, of, hey, figure it out. I mean, sure, I'm here and I'll help you every now and then, but you should be able to see from the groundwork we've laid what you need to do to beat whatever's in front of you. And I think that's just great.
I think that probably says a lot about the recruitment as well, about the kind of players. So,
Yep.
So Tim, bring us home. What do you see this week?
So I read an article that was looking forward just past the Villa game to the international break. And it claimed that we could have up to 19 senior players called away to international duty. So I charted it out. Alisson, Fabinho and Bobby are all World Cup qualifiers for Brazil. Will probably be called up. Robbo for Scotland, Cayman Keller for Ireland, Virgin Genie obviously for Netherlands, Gomez, Trent, and possibly Hendo for England, Nico for Wales, Samikas for Greece, Grujic for Serbia, Jota for Portugal now, Shaq Switzerland, Origi Belgium, and Mane Keita and Minamino could be going to friendlies, even though the AFCON things have been postponed. And apparently all of this is influenced by the fact that FIFA has said that despite the fact that there is a worldwide pandemic going on, teams may not object to sending their players on international duty due to the possible complications of COVID, even though we allegedly have a backup left back who got COVID while on international duty.
But we're not
Great
surprised.
article. Yeah.
By the way, you forgot Wilson to Wales.
True. Yeah. So
Oh, I
he's
don't know.
probably
Maybe,
more likely than Hendo playing.
yeah, maybe that's breaking news. Maybe we're not concerned.
Yeah,
about
maybe.
Wilson.
Yeah,
Wilson
that's
to
true.
Wales?
Um,
Well, if he's left, then we're not concerned about him going to play for Wales.
yeah,
That's my point.
and this fixture list is
Wilson?
mad too,
Yeah.
because
He's left?
apparently Gomez and Trent, that there would be 3 matches they would have to play for England in the 2
Yeah.
weeks
Yeah.
instead of like the usual 2.
Yeah.
So it's just it's a lot of road mile or a lot of highway miles, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
on the
3
guys,
matches
but-
instead of 2 is ridiculous. I remember reading about that a few weeks ago.
Mhm.
Fortunately, Thiago will not be going to Spain. All right.
Thiago will be staying home for at least another week and a half.
Hey, everyone else in Spain's got COVID. Why not?
Oh dear, Charlie.
I guess we have to edit
I didn't
this
call
now.
it the other name.
Uh-huh. I think you might find 10% of the people in Spain have it because I think that's generally the wool. Anyway, back to the Reds. Here's my favorite thing of the week, actually. Jed Ray, I don't know if you know him, he's on Twitter. You might have seen this. He looked at the records of the top 6 against each other since Klopp joined Liverpool. And Reds have now played 50 games against top 6 opposition in the time he's been here, and they've lost 8. City have played 48 games and have lost 17. United have played 47 and lost 15. Chelsea and Spurs have played some similar number and have lost 20. Arsenal have played 48 and lost 23.
Yeah, I did see that this morning.
Yeah,
It's impressive.
it is. It is. I think I retweeted it from our account actually.
Oh, man, that's where I saw it probably.
So good stuff. Okay, I think that's our review for this week. We will be back next week with Roddy from Official Supporters Club of Las Vegas. We'll talk to him about his story, and we'll have to make some stuff up because the international break will be on, right? So.
Yeah.
Apparently, we've got 19 players who will be playing, so we can talk about their performances elsewhere.
Including
Fire up
Harry
those
Wilson.
ESPN Plus accounts.
I don't know if I have the energy for that, but let's see when we get there. All right.
Whenever we're traveling again, you'll have a new friend in Vegas, right?
Right.
Cheap airfare.
Yeah.
Up the Reds.